All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're now finishing up this beautiful speech that the Rebbe made in Tavshin Nun Beit. Tavshin Nun Beit. Not just a month, whatever, the month and a half, something before he had a stroke. He had a stroke, and this stroke rendered him um, paralyzed. Paralyzed. And he couldn't speak. So this is what the let's say 2 months, 2.5 months. Let me just make this cheshbon 1 second. It was in Chaf Zayin Adar, and so good. So it was almost 3 months before. Good. So these messages are very, very important, and it's like the sort of summary of everything that the Rebbe had done his whole life. And in fact, this the summary of all of the work of all the Rebbes of Chabad, and that is to bring Mashiach. Actually, physically, this person will come just like Moses came and he saved the Jews. So Mashiach is going to come and he's going to save the whole world from their ignorance and from their mistakes and from their, how do you say, unawareness of who they really are, of their potential. So here we go. So we can say this is especially this year, and this is especially stressed by this haftorah that we have. It says that the house of Joseph will be like the house of Jacob will be like fire, and the house of Jacob and the house of Joseph, who Joseph, of course, was the son of Jacob, he'll be like a flame, and he will devour the house of Esav. And the Esav is, of course, the non-Jews, or let's put the non-Jewishness, the stressing of the world, the physical world or the spiritual world, but anyway, selfishness. And this was especially, and by the first Rebbe of Chabad, because soon we're going to be celebrating the release of the first Rebbe of Chabad from prison. This is especially in France. And the Rebbe he spoke about this especially, that one of the main battles of Chabad in general was against France. could be the first place that really intermarriage assimilation began like full force officially by Judaism. There was always such a thing, but it was always in a very small flame. Once in a while it burst, like in the time of the Greeks and things like that. But generally speaking, other ideas crept in to try to conquer Judaism, and people, secularism became a religion. But in France, it was really big time. France, that was like the ideal, the atheism. Atheism was France, right? How you can get pleasure from this world. The myriads of ways that you can get pleasure from, fine food and from literature and from art and from the theater and music and the big restaurants and free thinking and just enjoying yourself, enjoying your body, enjoying everything, right? And everything goes, just to be free. Right? That was the idea of France, and it really caught on by the Jews. The Jews really liked it. France. That was like the center of free thinking, of education, to educate everyone to be selfish. That was the ideal of France. Color, music. Says the Rebbe. Well, the job of Chabad was to transform that, and that it really came to a head in Napoleon. Napoleon, he conquered the world almost. He made these amazing. He was a soldier. He made these amazing military decisions. And I read a very small amount about Napoleon, but he was a very evil person, and he was very clever, and he was very tremendously powerful, and gifted and inspired, and everybody was in awe of him. And his thing was he was going to knock down all the kings. There wasn't going to be any kings. And eventually even religion, he was going to you could do whatever you wanted to. You wanted to be religious, okay, but there was no point in it. And And the Jews loved him, and the religious Jews loved him, because he said, everyone can do what you want. There's going to be liberty, fraternity, equality. Everyone does what they want. You want to be a religious Jew, then do it. No one is going to stop you. But on the other hand, if you want to be a non-religious Jew, also no one's going to stop you. And who's going to want to be a religious Jew? If you want to do it, you can do it. But who would want to waste your life away with religion? If that's what you want, then okay. But he showed the options to believing in God, and they were much more appetizing than being a religious Jew. So that was France. Well, the whole job of Chabad was to transform France. And it says the house of Joseph will be the flame, right? The house of until he will destroy the house of Esav. Where was Esav, the main place of Esav? It says in this week's Haftorah, Tzarfat, France. And Yosef, that's the previous Rebbe's name. The previous Rebbe's name was Yosef. In the house of Yosef, he will be the one that will destroy and this thing of France, which basically, that's basically happened. Right? The whole strength, like I explained last time, the Rebbe took the French national anthem and he put words of one of the prayers to Oder V'Emunah, and suddenly we saw that there's Jews started to come back to Judaism in France, right? A lot of them, right? Hundreds, thousands of Jews started coming back to Judaism in France. And there's Chabad houses all over in France. And France is the gematria, the numerical value of 770. And France is also the numerical value of paratsta. Paratsta, uparatsta, uparatsta, uparatsta. Paratsta means to spread out. That's the blessing that God gave to Yaakov, to Jacob. He was going to spread out all over. Nothing would stop the belief in God. Nothing would stop. So that he says that's the numerical 7 value. And yes, Tzarfat is Ufras. And the thing about France is, and the way, here you can see very clearly how the way this battle is done, how Judaism is going to take over the world. It's not by forcing people. It's not by threatening people. It's not by cursing people and saying anyone who doesn't believe like us will, be burned and et cetera, et cetera. No, it's not. The way it was done was exactly through those things that France so loved: intellect, philosophers, the great philosophers, Voltaire, Rousseau, these people, great philosophers. And eventually it spread, elsewhere, to Germany, to this. And Germany became a big center with Berlin, but the whole thing really began France. France was like the core of this, free thinking, idealizing selfishness, and so using intellect and using this, so that's what eventually, the people can really understand God, and that was Chabad. Chabad is that you can understand ideas of Chabad. Your mind can be directed to trying to understand God, and realizing that no matter how hard you try to understand God, and you do succeed in understanding God, that in fact God is infinitely more incomprehensible than we can possibly imagine. But before that, we didn't know that. If you didn't understand something about God, then you thought maybe this little idea that I understand about God, that's God. That's God, right? Like God created the world the 7 million years ago, but there was God, right? So that you believe in God. Then suddenly you believe, no, maybe God is creating the world right now. Or let's say God created the world not 7 million years ago. He created 5,700 years ago, right? Exactly time. Before that, there was nothing. Well, then you say, no, God is creating the world right now. That's pretty amazing. Then you say, no, God is creating me right now. Then you say, but God is creating everything with a purpose. Everything has a meaning. The Torah gives that meaning. God gave the Torah. The deeper ideas of God. God creates the angels, right? He creates the spiritual. Don't think God is spiritual. He's not. There are deeper and deeper ideas about what God is. And eventually this was what conquered, if you want to call it, France. It broke through all of the boundaries of this philosophy and etc. Of course, there's still people that believe in all this stuff, Sartre and those people. But nevertheless, it gave an alternative to atheism or anti-theism, whatever you call it. Okay. But in our generation, this is where we got up to. In our generation itself, there's even more. But what we said, that the moon, which is the Jewish people, became full of the Chodesh Kislev of this month of Kislev in this year. And as we said, the month of Kislev, that is the month of redemption. That's the month that the second. That's the month that the first Rebbe Chabad got out of prison, and that was the month. On that date, really began this Chassidut Chabad, this fire, and also this is the month of Chanukah, which Chanukah the Rebbe doesn't explain here Chanukah, but Chanukah is basically the same thing as Chabad. Because what was Chanukah? What happened in Chanukah? Chanukah was a spiritual battle. The Greeks, as we said before, the Greeks were also, the murderers, and who knows how many people they murdered. But the main thing of the Greeks was not physical conquest. It was more intellectual conquest. How many Greeks were there? How could they possibly control the whole world? But their hope was that when all the world saw how the intellectual and philosophical superiority of Greek and Greek thinking, that the world would agree to be led by the Greeks. And the world would be happy that the Greeks would be their leaders, take them out of this darkness that they were in. That's what they hoped. And the Jewish people loved it, because along with this Greek philosophy and beautiful ideas was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. They could do everything they wanted to. As far as I learned in university, this is what I learned, that this was a long time ago, that Greece was a very homosexual society. Everybody had like a male, and then they had a female wife for having children. But you want to have fun, So it was a very pleasure-loving and how do you say the culture-loving society. The Greeks, tremendous philosophers and mathematicians and things like that came out of Greece. And so it was intellect, something like France, same thing as France, right? And just like Napoleon conquered the world, they also conquered the world. Alexander the Great, I never saw anybody try to make some sort of a connection between the two of them. And the victory was one of light. Even though the Jews beat the army of the Greeks, which was tens of thousands of trained soldiers, and the Jews didn't have any trained soldiers at all. The Jews, I don't know if the people that won the battle, they could change a tire on a car, change whatever it is, a horseshoe on a horse. They were all Kohanim, they were the priests. They had no connection with knives and things like that, and guns and shooting. There were no guns, there were barrels, bows and arrows. And they won this incredible battle over the Greeks who had conquered the whole world, but they couldn't conquer this little band of Jews. It says it started off, there was only 13 of them, Jews that made the whole war. And nevertheless, the whole thing of Chanukah is not commemorated by marches of victory and things like that. It's by the candles. And interestingly enough, every Jew lights them. Even the Jews that are not aware of this military victory that we had over this, they light these candles, Huh? I remember at my bar mitzvah, which, like I say, everybody had a bar mitzvah. It was totally not religious. And my grandfather, they had him cut the bread. That was what grandfathers were created for, to cut the bread at the bar mitzvah. That's the only Jewish thing that he knew. And and he cut the bread. And as this is what I remember, that he made the blessing over the bread. And the blessing that he made over the bread was, Asher kirishanu b'mitzvos v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner Chanukah, because that's the only blessing that everybody knows in America. Everyone knows that blessing. They don't know what they're saying. It's just, they thought a Jewish saying like Shema Yisrael. You say Shema Yisrael. So that's a blessing. They make the blessing. This is as far as I remember. There wasn't any sound movies over there. We have a movie of my bar mitzvah, but there's no sound. Maybe there was, I don't know, but we didn't have one anyway. Sound movie. So I don't know what blessing he made, But that was like the highlight of the whole thing. And somebody mentioned that's not the blessing. That wasn't the blessing. But everybody knows the blessing of the lights of Hanukkah. Everyone. Because that's light and it's oil, and that's the same thing as Hasidut Chabad. And the Rebbe here stressed that that's why Hanukkah is at the end of the month. And also Yutet Kislev is near the end of the month when the moon is getting smaller. It's the only holidays in Judaism that are at the end of the month, that begin at the end of the month. Or when the moon is getting small, after the middle of the month. Okay. In our generation, said the Rebbe, when the Rebbe spoke, this was Tov Shin Nun Beit. Now we're going to have to extrapolate this a little bit to make it fit our year, which is Pei Gimel, which is not going to be hard. You're going to see how I flip this thing around. Do some, acrobatics here. That year was Tov Shin Nun Beit. It was the year that was Niflaot Ba. Okay, our year is Pei Gimel. So you can sort of drop the Nun, even though the Rebbe doesn't drop the Nun. We'll see, he makes the thing out of the Nun. Plaot, Niflaot and Pelaot are basically the same thing. Niflaot means wonders. Pelaot means wonders. It's the same word. Pela. Well, what are you going to do with the ba in it? This is your Gimel. So we'll make it up, or I'll make it up, and we'll Pelaot Gdolot. Big wonders. Okay, but the Rebbe says Niflaot ba means bay, ba call, mi call. These are the initials of Niflaot, wonders, ba, Tafshin Nun Beit, or Niflaot Bakal, Beit, Bakal. Namely, that this year itself and everything that's in it will be a way of wonders. Pella, here the Rebbe says Pella, that's our year, Pella, which is above, a Pella is above a miracle. The word Pella means a wonder. A wonder is bigger than a miracle. Pella, and when it says Pelaot, right? Pelaot is plural. Adeniflaot, with a nun. See, he makes the thing of nun, Pelaot. We're going to have to drop the nun over here because our year is Tavshin Pei Gimel, not nun. The main, what is the big miracle we're waiting for anyway? What's this miracle? It says over there's a prophecy, right? The prophecy, where is it? In Micha, where is it? Micha. It says, like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. What did I do here? Kaniflaot. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be big time miracles. Even though the Maimonides says the Mashiach does not have to do any miracles, and that his identifying Mashiach has nothing to do with miracles, doing miracles or not doing miracles. The main thing of Mashiach is to strengthen Judaism. That's his main thing, strengthen Judaism. And that the Jews will all come back to do Torah. That's the main thing of Mashiach, or at least the beginning. And then that's going to spread to the whole world, okay. But after that, it says that there's going to be big miracles. Listen, that all the Jews will come and do Torah and mitzvahs, that I don't think there's any bigger miracle than that. I don't think you can find that every Jew will convince himself to do. Anyway, so it says, Niflot, it'll be in the days that Mashiach will take the Jews out of the exile we're in, it will be called Niflot. It'll make the miracles that happened when we left Egypt like regular. It'll be like nature. And what's going to happen with Mashiach is going to be Niflot. It'll be miracles even regarding Niflot. It'll be miracles even regarding to going out of Egypt. It'll make the going out of Egypt, the miracles going out of Egypt, like, how do you say, like, kindergarten stuff. No big deal. Hoshana Zu, and especially this year, it says when the moon is full, this month, the third month, is 3 times as a chazaka. We say that we are near the third day of the third month. That's when this year also, Yutet Kislev is going to be on the third day of the third month. What was Yutet Kislev? That was the day when the inner Torah, the Torah of Chassidut, was given. Matan Torah of Torah Chassidut. That's when Chabad really began. Hatchalat Agila, the beginning of the Torah of the Mashiach. The teachings of Chabad are called the Torah of the Mashiach. Sha'az then you and then will be the actual consummation of the wedding between God and the Jewish people. So to speak, at Mount Sinai, it was only the engagement. And the actual marriage is going to be with Mashiach. Then it says that the light of the moon will be the light of the sun. And we can also stress that this year, the months of Kislev and Cheshvan, right, last month and this month, that they were complete. They have 3 months in a row that were Cheshvan and Kislev, and next month also will be 3 months in a row that will be whole, complete 30 days. In Judaism, a month can either be 29 days or 30 days. And this year we have the months of, here, let me just have a look over here.
I think it's Tishrei, Cheshvan, and Kislev.
That's right. Tishrei, Cheshvan, and Kislev are all complete. That's right. Tishrei is always complete. But Tishrei, Cheshvan, and Kislev, 3 months in a row, which are going to be complete. That's also this year when the Rebbe spoke, it was an extra Adar. That it was different than our year. Our years, there's not 2 Adars in our month, in our year. So he says, nevertheless, it shows on a completeness. When the sun and the moon, they meet together. They meet together. It's the same arrangement that it was back then in that year. It's not exactly in this year. So there's a little sort of a discrepancy between the months of the year and the days of the year and the days of the months of the year. Okay, but nevertheless, the months are complete, 30 in a row. Each one is 30 days. It shows on a certain completeness. V'yesh l'kasher zeh, we can also connect this to the Maimorim that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe said when his daughter got married to the Rebbe. And he said you can look, there's a book called Contrasium Aleph, and there is Maimorim of the wedding that the previous Rebbe said, the leader of our generation, and this was also printed brand new, the Rebbe said, that's relevant to the wedding. Because what we're waiting for is a wedding, the wedding between God and the Jewish people. And this, it stressed the wedding of the Jewish people with Hashem in the days of the Mashiach. That then will be the completion of Torah Chadash Amiti Tetzei, then we'll see the godliness which is in the Torah. It says that the marriage between God and the Jewish people, the engagement was in Mount Sinai, and the wedding ring was the Torah. And of course, that wedding ring will only be really take its true, implications, its meaning, to unite the bride and the groom. In this case, the bride is the Jewish people, the groom is Hashem. And when will that be? Only when Mashiach comes. Mashiach is going to reveal the true godliness, which is in every word, every idea, every commandment of the Torah. It's going to be very happy. And the whole world will be invited to this wedding. The whole world, the Jewish people, they're the bride, and God is the groom, and the whole world are the guests. Good friends. From this, movements understood that in these days, mamish, all you have to do is just open up your eyes, and see what's really going on. Namely, we are now one with God, which of course that's always the case, right? God, we don't see it. The Shulchan Aruch, the wedding table is already set. The Sudat Nesoim, the Suda, the Leviathan, there'll be what's going to be the food? This food will be, it says, the Leviathan, this big fish, and the Shor boar, and this big ox. What are the Leviathan and some English name for the big ox? Anyway, the ox, the Yayin HaMeshumor, and the wine which has been preserved from the 6 days of creation, the wine. This will also be the rectification of the fruit that Adam ate. Some people say the fruit that Adam ate was wine. that Chava, Eve, squeezed grapes, gave him wine to drink, just as something like Noah. Noah tried to fix it up, but he didn't succeed. Also, Yain Meshuma, Shebesiyumo, that's what God will say to King David. Here is the meal. All the dead will rise, right? So King David's going to be there. And God is going to say, okay, who's going to make the blessing on the wine? David is the Moshiach. Malchut Moshiach is King David. It says David didn't die. David Melech is Yisrael Chai V'Kayom. God is going to say, all right, all the great people, all the great Jews, all the people who sacrifice their time and their energy to do what's right. As far as I understand from Maimonides, also non-Jews. Also, and God says, okay, who's going to make the sanctify the wine, the blessing on the wine over this whole business? So God is going to turn to King David and say, you take the cup of blessing. Uberech and bless. King David is going to say, I will make the blessing, and it's proper that I should make the blessing. Like it says, Kos Yeshuot Esa, the cup of salvation I will lift up, Ubashem Hashem Ekra, and I will call out in the name of God. This is in Psalm 116. Huh? I didn't look at this. 1 second. All right, what is this called? Are we talking about here? I'll have to look at that. I didn't see there was a big footnote of okay. Says the Rebbe, okay, the deed is the main thing. We have these wonderful philosophical ideas. We got all excited. We have to open up our eyes. Moshiach is already here. Everything is already prepared. Yosef has already transformed. Yosef, the previous Rebbe, has already transformed France. What are we supposed to do? Shabbos. Now, Erev Shabbos. Now we are coming from Shabbos. This is a speech which is given on Shabbos, right? The Shabbat. The Hasidim remembered, and after Shabbat they would sit down and go over and write it down. Shabbat came the Seir of the Chodesh Kislev B'Shlemuta says that the Erev Shabbat today is the 15th. That's when the moon is full, and this is drawn into the day of Shabbat and after Shabbat, the first day of the week, which is called Yom Echad, when God Bayer Boker Yom Echad, that God was one in His world. It doesn't say Yom Rishon. That's the 17th day of Kislev, Tu B'Kislev. That's going to be Motzi Shabbos. The Gimel Yomim, the 3 days, which have this quality of holiness, namely, now it's going to start after Shabbat. What's going to start? The day before Yutet Kislev. It's going to be Yom Rishon. Actually, it's going to be what? Yom Sheni in the nighttime. Yom Sheni. Alachas Kamo, it's more so in the days of the Gula, Yutet Kislev and Chav Kislev. So what do we have? We have the moon is full today. Shabbos is going to be the 16th. The Rebbe went over that earlier. Yom Rishon is going to be the 17th. That's the gematria of Tov, good. Yom Rishon. Yom Sheni is going to be the 18th. That's the day before Yutet Kislev. How much more so the day of Yutet Kislev itself? Yutet and Chaf. The Alter Rebbe was freed from prison on the 19th, but it was totally freed. There was a mistake, whatever, but it was totally freed on the 20th. And now we have to draw out these days of holiness when the moon was full. Of course, the 14th, that was yesterday, was the day of the Rebbe's wedding, the day the Rebbe got married to the previous Rebbe's daughter. That was on the 14th. The 15th, the moon is full. The 16th, that's Shabbat. 17th is the Gematria Good. The 18th is the day which prepares for Yud Tes Kislev, the 19th and the 20th. And then we continue to the days which are after until until the days of Chanukah, which is the 25th. All these days, says the Rebbe, from the 19th day until including the days of Chanukah, we should make forbringings. Hasidic forbringings, Hasidic get-togethers in every single place, in every single country, in every single city, in every single neighborhood. Not only big forbringings, central places where they invite big officials to come, but every single place, simply, including also every individual place in a way, ba'ofen shel ikar. What's the main thing? Lo ba'ofen she makom poloni hu ikar hu mashpia. Not that such and such a place is going to be the main place, and other places we just make little. No, every place is going to be the main place. Make a little forbringing in your house, invite your family, invite your next door neighbor, right? 5 people come, 10 people come. That's the main place. There's in the big city in Jerusalem, you have in Kfar Chabad, there's going to be 1,000 people. That's the main one, says the Rebbe. No, everyone's going to be the main one. Every forbringing, every Hasidic get together will be the main one. But those who bilvad, not only that this will not in any way detract from the big main one that's advertised and thousands of people are going to come for the Yud Tet Kislev forbringing. El Adarab, exactly the opposite. By means of this, it will add more in the other places where they make Kina Sofrim Tar B'Chachma, like it says that the jealousy of wise men increase wisdom. When you are wise and you see somebody else that's more wise than you, so it's a good thing to become jealous, right? There's a bad type of jealousy where you wish that this person wasn't jealous, or that this person wasn't wise, right? Or you hate wisdom in general. You're just jealous. You want to destroy wisdom. But then there's a good type of jealousy. They think, wow, he's wise. I can aspire to that. Look, it's possible. He's that wise. I can also try to be that wise. Not that I want to be wiser than he is. I just want to partake of wisdom like he does, etc. So it'll be also with Yud Tet Kislev farbringens. Wow, that was successful in the big one. I want to be successful. Here there was a farbringen with only 10 people, right? And they were so happy. So when we make the farbringen 1,000 people, we're also going to make it happy. Until everyone will be in a way of ikar. Every farbringen, every get-together, Hasidic get-together will be the main one. Until the really, truly main farbringen, the truly main get-together, Hasidic, that she'enu tzarich lakabel hashpa mimakom merkazi v'yikari, that you don't have to be inspired by anyone else because you yourself will be the source. Like it says, the moon, shlemus levana, which the moon in the future it won't have to receive from the sun anymore. So in other words, everyone themselves has to be a source. Ukadai, and it is worthwhile and it is proper that each and every person should make some sort of a farbringen, and how good even 3 in these 3 days in a row or a chazaka with himself, with all the 10 powers of his soul, with the people in your house, with your friends, with your acquaintances. And you should stress even more that each and every person who gam mashpia, every person is also a teacher. You have to receive from everyone. You have to join with everyone, but also you have to give to everyone. Everyone has something to say, and if you have some only stupid things to say, so that's okay. Say that also, and you'll learn, right? At least you'll realize you can talk, right? And then next time you say, well, I should say something a little more meaningful, maybe something a little more relevant, maybe something a little more true, something a little more wise. Maybe that, and you'll be amazed. Afterwards, people come to you and say, wow, you spoke at that refrain. You said really nice things. I really was inspired. Like it says, so we'll turn the heart of the parents to the children, and the children's hearts to the parents, right? It comes from Malachi, the prophet Malachi, right in the end of the prophet Malachi. How do you... in these forbringings, in these Hasidic get-togethers that the Rebbe is suggesting that we should make on and around Yutet Kislev, one theme should be to arouse others and also to arouse yourself to increase in the three pillars of Torah, prayer, and charity. Like the rabbis say, there's Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. This is when the first Rebbe of Chabad was released from prison. He would say the Psalms. The book of Psalms is 150 Psalms, and they're divided up into days of the month, and also they're divided up into five, according to the 5 books of the Torah. But also it's divided into 7 according to the days of the week. And the first Rebbe of Chabad, when he was in prison, used to say, according to all of the Psalms that were relevant to that week, how it was divided into the week. And when he got out, he was on Psalm number 55, which ends with the word Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. God has saved in peace my soul. Pada B'Shalom Nafshi Mikravli. It says and explains in the Midrash that anyone who works at the Torah and makes an effort to give more charity and he prays with the congregation, so God says, I treat him as though he has redeemed me and my sons from exile. And not only as though, but Padaini, that he, not it's as though, but actually this actually redeems Hashem from the exile, takes him from his concealment and makes it more revealed. Namely what? Learning Torah, praying with a minyan, and giving charity. Those 3 things should be stressed in the forbringings that we make in these Hasidic get-togethers, even if it's only with your family, even if it's only with yourself, that as much as you're doing in these things, you have to do more. And it has to be in a more happy way. But Pasha is simply that immediately, mamish, in the continuation of this forbringing, the Rebbe is speaking on Shabbat, and even before we pray Mincha, in other words, on Shabbat itself, it will be fulfilled. The request of Yaakov, B'Shem Ba'avo B'Shlichos Kiviyachol, and this is going, and he gave this in the name of God, and this passes over to every single Jew, that Yaakov wanted Leshe B'Shalva, that wanted, this is going to be next week, that he wanted to sit in a quiet way, right? This is before Yosef was sold into slavery. That we read in Mincha B'Poel B'Gilui, that it should actually happen. The Jewish people should actually be able to be calm and not worried about any external or internal worries or confusion. Kevin Senshikavar Lifneza, because beforehand it's already what Olam Moshim B'Har Tzion, the saved ones, the Jewish people will come from the Mount of Zion, and they will judge the mountain of Esav, and God will be the ruler of the world. Then it will be Ach Tzadikim Yeshvu Yishmecha Yeshoim Es Panecha. This is what we say in the end of each and every prayer. The righteous will view your face. Where will we view the face of God? In the Holy Temple, the 3rd temple. Now it says, we learned this before, it says the Holy Temple can be built from scratch, from absolutely nothing, in, 24 minutes. 24 minutes, because it's already waiting in heaven to come down. In what form is it waiting in heaven? I have no idea. The astronauts have not seen it. I don't think any radar or anything has detected this huge building, which must be, millions of tons. But it's going to come, it's going to be revealed. It said it'll come from heaven. The 3rd temple. And in the 3rd temple, we'll see that God is creating us. And there will be a really big forbringing of Chanukah in the Holy Temple. Chanukah, what was Chanukah? That the Greeks defiled the temple, and the Jews went and they, purified the temple. Then we'll light the candles really in the 3rd temple, where all the Jewish people will be there. It says all the Jewish people, that's one of the accomplishments of Mashiach, will build the 3rd temple, and all the Jews will come to Israel. Or even before the days of Hanukkah can happen. And the days of Hanukkah will be even more. And the completion of the redemption, that we will go from strength to strength, and we will see God in Zion. This is in Tehillim, in Psalms. In other words, we're waiting for big miracles to happen. But the Rebbe says if we open up our eyes, we can see that big miracles are happening right now. Now this, the Rebbe said 31 years ago. And he said Moshiach is supposed to come any second. And so you can understand how do you say, on edge everyone is. And especially when you read in Chassidut, the spiritual levels that are going to be revealed in this world, it'll be like stones, everywhere. Like on the ground, like grass is growing. That's what the miracles are going to be. And so, where is it? What's happening? So it's up to each and every one of us to do more good, to think more good, to say more good, more Torah, more charity, more prayer, more love of God, more love of our fellow man, more love of the Torah. And with this, we'll see what it says in the end of our Haftorah of this week, that this, like it says, that the ones who are saved, the Jewish people, will come and they will judge the mountain of Esav, that will teach them, the non-Jews, how precious they are in God's eyes, how important they are, and how they should return the favor to God by means of doing the 7 Noahide commandments, and the Jewish people by means of doing the Torah. The whole world will be filled with blessing and meaning and joy and health, until even there won't be any more death. It'll just be life, pure life. Mashiach now. Now let's do the Dvar, the Yom Yom. Here we go, rabbis. Thank you very much for coming. Here we go. Oh.
How soon is there a most accepted opinion? How soon after Mashiach comes will death cease to exist?
I know there's one opinion that says 40 years.
Right, 40 years for Tchias HaMesim, I've heard.
Right, death will cease to exist. That's what it means. That's the raising of the dead, means that there won't be any more death. Right, that's what it means.
If it comes together, and we could also
listen how it says no one can understand these things. These are things
we could stop dying. We could stop dying before the revival of the dead also.
I don't know. I mean, we'll find that. As far as I'm concerned, we can stop dying right now. It's totally unnecessary. That's as far as I'm concerned. But I didn't create the world, and I'm not creating the world. So, God did not ask me, and it's a good thing He didn't, because if He would, there would be a terrible world. Okay. The Alter Rebbe told his son, the second Rebbe, said, my grandfather, and the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe, who's referring to the Baal Shem Tov, said that a person has to have total self-sacrifice and dedication for loving another Jew, Ahavas Yisrael, even toward a Jew that you have never seen before in your life, to love him, which in a way is, it's much easier to love a Jew you've never seen before in your life than to love a Jew which you do see and you don't like, that it gets on your nerves. It's much easier to do. But on the other hand, there's something, the people you don't like, that shows you where this love is supposed to come from. It can't come from just what the person does for you or to you, or that you have a harmony, or there's a chemistry or something between you. There must be something lovable in each and every Jew that's eternal. And it's something like we learned in the Mimer, the Sikha here, about when the moon is dark, then that you see the essence of the moon. So there must be an essence of every Jew, a godliness that's there, that's worthy of love. And this is in addition to the fact that everybody is unique, because that refers to everybody in the world. Everyone in the world has something unique that you can learn from. You can learn, there's 8 billion messages in the world waiting for you to learn, and that you're missing. So there you can see everybody in the way a person looks, what they are. I have absolutely no idea what these messages are, but nevertheless, everyone is there to somehow or other improve everyone else. Okay. Anyway, figure that out. I don't know. But a Jew is a whole different thing. And a Jew, there's a spark of pure godliness, like the Holy Temple. That is, you can like the Eiffel Tower because of its engineering or whatever it is. Like that. But the Holy Temple, you don't like it necessarily because it's the engineering is nice. Godliness, you feel godliness. That's supposed to be what is every Jew. So it says every Jew is special. Even a Jew, you have no idea who he is. You don't know what type of personality is God, what type of this. Nevertheless, there has to be a love for every single Jew, and which means sometimes overlooking the negative qualities that sometimes Jewish people can demonstrate. Everyone is lovable, and everyone has the ability to love and to find that lovable thing in everybody else. Have a good Shabbat. Oh, one second. We got to do tomorrow because we won't be here tomorrow. 1 minute. We're not finished yet. Here we go. Shabbat. A fundamental principle of Chabad philosophy is that the mind rules over the heart, which that's an innate quality. A person can control himself. That's what this, mind control this, but that ideally what's supposed to be in universities. Now it's sort of the opposite way around. But it's supposed to be that the mind rules over the heart. You understand what is right, then you don't follow your, animalistic urges. So a person has to subordinate the heart to God's service by using intellect, understanding, and deep contemplation of the greatness of God. And when you start to understand that God is creating me and he's creating everything and God makes everything happen, so then it calms down, it puts your emotions in the proper place. You can see more the mystery which is in everything in the world, and you don't take anything for granted. That's what means that your heart becomes more in control of your mind. Because only your mind can comprehend what the real truth is. People think that I know what the truth is. I see what's going on. This guy just cut me off on my car. That's what the truth is, right? But if you use your mind, you can say, 1 second, it wasn't him that did it. It was God that made it happen. And this is part of a big plan in order to improve my personality. So I should stop getting mad and etc. Then, if you use your mind, then that controls your emotions. Have a good Shabbat with Moshiach now. See you all, God willing, on Yom Rishon, 8:15 in the morning.
Thank you very much.
My
Good
pleasure.
Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
Parshas
Good
Vayishlach.
Shabbos.